Alright, so I've got 3 videos to do right now. I am a bit behind on a couple of them, so I'm just gonna try to run through them as best as I can and hope that I don't crash and burn. Also, while this won't be uploaded on time, this video is being filmed on Easter Sunday, so happy Easter to all my viewers who celebrate the holiday. Hope that your Easter was lovely. Now on to the video. Demi Lovato is back with a brand new studio album, Dancing with the Devil, The Art of Starting Over. Pop superstar Demi Lovato has arrived with her 7th studio album and her first since 2017's Tell Me You Love Me. I reviewed that album back on my blog when it came out, and you can find that review at the link in the description, but I really enjoyed that album a lot. I even went as far as to give it an excellent rating because I enjoyed it that much. In the year since that record's release though, Demi has gone through some very difficult, well-documented times. In 2018, she released the incredible track Sober, where she revealed that she had a relapse in her addiction, and a little over a month later, she suffered a near-fatal overdose that left her minutes away from death. Said overdose has also unfortunately left her with long-lasting health issues, including multiple strokes, a heart attack, and brain damage that's left her with lasting vision problems. She also revealed that amidst her struggles, she was the victim of a sexual assault during her 2018 overdose. I say all of this to say I'm glad Demi is here with us and is able to release new music. It takes a lot of strength to have to go through even half of the things that she's dealt with, and I can only imagine how difficult it would be to even be able to put out music after all of that. But I'm grateful that she's here and I'm happy she's able to put out music at all. In the recent months, in fact, she's been very busy with music, putting out a number of singles, some of which made this album, others of which didn't, and she's had collaborations with artists like Sam Smith and Marshmello. Now, after all of that, she has returned with this new album, which is 19 tracks and 57 minutes. It's kind of surprising that she kept it just under an hour, but 19 tracks is certainly an extreme length for a pop record. In a way, I understand it. Having not released an album in 4 years, which is a pretty long time in the pop world, she most likely had a lot to say and wanted to keep her fans satisfied, and personally, while the length can feel a bit unwieldy, the album itself is definitely another winner for Demi. As the title would suggest, the album is sort of divided into 2 parts, with the first 3 tracks being a prelude of sorts. Anyone is a powerful ballad that kicks off the album by seeing Demi almost cry for help throughout the song as she sings about this feeling that no one's listening to her. It's lyrically interesting, and I think Demi sounds wonderful on it, and it leads into the title track, Dancing with the Devil, which is another one that dives into Demi's struggles with her past addiction. I like the writing on the track, and of course Demi's performance is very powerful, almost giving me some Adele vibes, but I just wish the production was a bit more interesting. The song follows that pop formula of being kind of mellow before bursting into something bigger on the chorus, and it just doesn't grab me as much as the lyricism does. I See You, Madison's Lullaby, returns to the ballad style with Demi singing to her younger sister, painting a picture of this moment where she's waking up in the hospital bed and not being able to see her. While Demi sings with a lot of power here, I also appreciate that she shows more restraint on her vocals, mixing well with the heart-clenching feel of the piano. There's then a short 27-second intro cut that leads into the next part of the album with The Art of Starting Over, which I guess you could say is like the second title track. This one kicks more into a simple pop feel with a somewhat retro, soft, old-school vibe. It's a nice relaxing jam with these guitar plucks and smooth vocals from Demi. Again, she shows some restraint to match with the mellow feel of the song, and it sounds very nice. From there, Demi brings quite a few highlights, like The Way You Look at Me, which is an acoustic ballad that not only deals with Demi's struggles with addiction, but also with her eating disorder. Demi really dominates with these type of ballads, and I think her broken vocals fit well for the delicate guitar plucks. Met Him Last Night is a power pop jam featuring the wonderful Ariana Grande in a collaboration I was definitely looking forward to, and it more than lived up to my excitement. Ariana and Demi blend perfectly together on their vocals, and I like the implementation of the trap drums on the song. They almost remind me of some of my favorite tracks from Ariana's albums Sweetener and Thank You Next, for example. What Other People Say sees Demi pair with Sam Fisher on a very confessional power pop ballad about struggling with societal pressure. While the bass drum heavy beat is pretty standard, I think this song is elevated a good bit by the natural chemistry of Demi and Sam, who sound right at home together. Easy is a heartbroken piano ballad featuring Noah Cyrus, and I do like some of the orchestral sounds on the instrumental, with its dramatic strings mixing with the light piano melody. Demi and Noah mix very well together. I'm not too familiar with Noah Cyrus's music, so I wasn't sure how they'd blend, but they definitely make it work. And while I wasn't too crazy about the slight bombast of it at first, it did grow on me with a few repeat listens. 15 Minutes is a bit more of a banger, one that details Demi's past relationship with Max Eric. I actually really like this one. It's got a bit of a bouncy beat, but it has some light guitar strums and ethereal production that makes it a bit more breezy and light. It's a great mix of styles that works extremely well as one of the album's catchiest songs. Unfortunately, while there are plenty of highs, the album occasionally gets undone by its unwieldy length, and it feels like there were a few tracks that could have just been chopped from this thing entirely. Lonely People has more of those guitar strums kicking in with this dark, almost hazy vibe before moving into something slightly more pumping on the hook. It's got a very fun vibe despite its lyrics that deal with loneliness, though I do think it didn't have the catchiest chorus on the album. Melon Cake is another track that deals with Demi's eating disorder that begins with this bass groove that almost feels reminiscent of something like Cake by the Ocean by DNCE. It eventually morphs into something a bit more glitzy on the chorus with some of the light synths, and I do love the writing on here as it sees Demi feeling free of the limits placed on her by her former team, though I'm not as drawn in by some of the production. I do like that it feels a bit old school, but it just doesn't grab me, nor does the hook. Carefully is one of those pop songs where the artist asks you to handle them carefully. Sweet as Demi's vocals are, I do think it's probably one of the weaker songs on the album. It's definitely listenable, but the production feels very standard, and it just doesn't stand out as much as some of the other tracks do, both in terms of its instrumental and its writing. The Kind of Lover I Am also kind of falls into that boat of being a bit standard for me. I do like the song for being something of a pansexual anthem where she talks about how she'll fall for you regardless of your gender. It's just that the pop rock leaning instrumental is very standard, the hook doesn't really grab me, and while Demi's outro makes the song feel a bit more personable, the auto-tune filters on her voice make it a bit hard to listen to. My Girlfriends Are My Boyfriend is a rap leaning track featuring Sweetie, and this one disappointed me a bit. I do like the writing where Demi gives us an ode to her girlfriends and what can feel like an empowering anthem, but the electronic trap beat doesn't really grab me too much. I do think Demi's vocals are solid, and Sweetie's guest verse is pretty strong though. California Sober is another pretty confessional song explaining where Demi is in her recovery process, and while I wouldn't call it one of my favorites on the album, I do appreciate songs like this for how Demi is so willing to be open and raw about herself. I think the mid-tempo beat is a bit simple and standard, and it does kind of hold the song back a little bit, but Demi herself still sounds wonderful, and again, her raw lyricism is admirable. Butterfly plays on a few of those groovy vibes of some of the earlier tracks, but it's another raw lyrical cut that dives into Demi's relationship with her late father. I like her delicate vocals over some of the lighter guitar plucks, though I'm not quite as crazy about the chorus. It's a bit too repetitive and it doesn't stick out as being all that catchy. Near the end of the record though, there are two pretty strong standouts that really round things out stunningly. Mad World is Demi's cover of the iconic Tears for Fears song, though her version plays more like the wonderful yet memed cover by Michael Andrews and Gary Jules that was used for the soundtrack for Donnie Darko. Her take on it is very nice though. It takes the raw quietness of the Donnie Darko cover and adds a little bit of an appropriate bombast to make it feel a bit more dramatic, and her vocals also fit perfectly for a song like this, making this a very wonderful cover. And Good Place, the closer, is naturally the culmination of Demi's journey, where she pours it all over a bare, minimal instrumental consisting of some very small acoustic strums. For as skeletal as it is, Demi sells it beautifully with her stunning vocals and makes for an excellent closer to the record. Once again, it's admirable to see Demi be so open about herself and some of her struggles on this track, and it's great to see her journey culminate in something like this. Overall, Demi Lovato's newest album is another very nice piece of pop from one of the genre's biggest stars. Much of the record is more ballad-driven, which gives Demi a lot more room to show just how stunning her vocals can be, but there are a few more bouncy bangers that still sound just as solid. And beyond being a nice listen, I admire Demi's open and raw writing throughout the record. It takes a lot for anyone to be able to write about the topics she does on this album, but it takes even more for a wildly popular mainstream artist to be able to. Demi's had quite a journey, and I think this record feels like the culmination of it. I'm also pleased to see that it's a very cohesive listen, and I think the songs manage to fit together very well. The only thing that holds it back, though, is unfortunately the length. While the album is thematically cohesive, I think it can feel a bit unwieldy. Sonically, some of the songs can feel like they blend together just a little bit, which makes the album feel a bit longer than it should be. I feel like I look at this and think of it as an enjoyable, solid 19-track record, but it very well could have been a fantastic 10 to 12-track project. I totally get the impetus for putting in a large number of tracks, but there were a few that I think could have been left off of the album and released as standalone singles like some of Demi's other tracks. Even so, I'm very happy to see Demi Lovato back and making music, and I think she managed to make a very raw, unapologetic, and enjoyable album. Overall, on my rating scale, I'm definitely going to say that Demi Lovato's Dancing with the Devil, The Art of Starting Over is going to get a good rating from me. Again, a little too long. There were a couple tracks that could have been taken off entirely, but as it is, it's a great time. I'm happy to see Demi back, back, and I think she did a wonderful job with this project. I could tell she poured her heart into it, and I think you guys should definitely check it out. If you're a fan of Demi, of course you're gonna love it, and even if you're not, there are a few tracks that I'm sure you'll be able to take from it. But that's just my opinion on this album. What did you guys think about it? Did you love it even more than I did? Did you hate this thing? Were you just indifferent towards it? Would you say it's Demi's best album? And did you have as much a problem as I did with the length? Do you think it could have been cut down a bit? Whatever your thoughts are, leave them down in the comments below. Let's keep this civil and have some fun as we like to do. If you guys want to hit like and subscribe, thank you. If not, it's no big deal. I totally understand. And if you guys want to support my passion for content creation by subscribing to my OnlyFans, where I create exclusive music review and poetry content for $4.99 a month, the link to that is in the description. Of course, it's no big deal if you can't or don't want to. I appreciate anyone who is able to. In terms of what's next week, Brockhampton is dropping their new album and Taylor Swift is also re-releasing Fearless. I will try to check out both of those and review both of them, so stay tuned for that. But until next time, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Peace. Though her version plays more like the wonderful yet memed cover by Michael Andrews and Gary Jules that was featured in the Donnie Darko soundtrack. I said soundtrack. Fuck! Try it again.